Hello everyone. I'm here to present to you an unusual tape I discovered of the 1995 Godzilla film Godzilla vs. Destroyah. For those who don't know, I'll give a brief rundown of the story. After many action-packed battles across Japan, Godzilla's heart begins to run out of radiation and enters meltdown. To make the situation even worse, a new monster called Destroyah spawned from the chemical reaction caused by the oxygen destroyer in the original Godzilla movie appears, and it's up to Godzilla to save the nation before he himself destroys it. Anyway, I came across this VHS tape back in 1996, shortly after the film had been released in Japan. Being a serious Godzilla fan, I obtained the tape by buying it directly from a Japanese distributor myself for a small fee, plus import costs. Inserting the tape into my player, I noticed a few major differences. Rather than the film opening with Godzilla rampaging through Hong Kong, the film opens on Birth Island, which is where Godzilla and his son Little Godzilla went home after defeating Space Godzilla in the previous film. Little Godzilla can be seen wandering around the island, blowing bubbles, and generally having a whale of a time on the small island. But Space Godzilla can very briefly be seen in the background when Little Godzilla wanders towards his father. I assume this was an error due to the use of stock footage. Godzilla dotingly watches his son, having flattened several trees to get a better vantage point over the island's coastline. Suddenly, Godzilla's chest pulses, and radiation emits from the scutes on his back. He roars in agony, and the scene cuts to Little Godzilla, who looks around in surprise as the screen goes white. The film then continues onward to the Hong Kong introduction, and from this point onward, the film continues as normal, with a few small errors, such as Godzilla Jr. missing some of his roars, and the lines used to control the juvenile Destroyah puppet being very visible ever so often. The film then changes, becoming a bit disturbing when Godzilla Jr. is killed by the final form of Destroyah. Destroyah lifts Jr. into the air, as per usual, but Jr. desperately tries to fight back, blasting Destroyah in the face multiple times with his atomic breath. Destroyah shrugs it off, and using all of his strength, throws Jr. to the ground. When Jr. hits the ground, instead of seeing Miki and her friend's shocked reaction, Jr.'s face is shown in a close-up, foaming from the mouth in a similar fashion to when he was injected with micro-oxygen earlier in the film. He's also shown to be writhing in pain, and the right side of the suit's face is depressed and dented inwards. This continues for about a minute or so before Jr. falls limp. Godzilla looks even angrier than usual and storms towards Destroyah in retaliation for the death of his son, but Destroyah uses his powerful arms to toss Godzilla aside into a building which collapses under the mutated dinosaur's sheer weight. Destroyah appears almost happy as he's killing and injuring his foes, and a sadistic glint in his eyes appears as he watches Godzilla desperately try to get up to go to his son. Godzilla breathes radiation over Jr., but unlike the normal film, in which he's briefly revived before dying again, Jr. does not stir. The next scene of interest is a subject which has become legendary amongst the G fans. It is a scene in which is often described but rarely seen. There is no sound except for what appears to be the grinding of servos in Destroyah's suit. The monster braces himself as the pattern on his chest opens up. What I then saw definitely hasn't been seen by anyone else, whereas in the normal deleted scene, Destroyah's actual beam is fired in this attack, isn't seen, probably because it hadn't been edited in yet. In this version, you can clearly see the beam, which is colored a bright purple, slam into Godzilla, and the screen fades to white. This was not the end of the tape, however. Despite the previous scene having clearly displayed the death of Godzilla, a new scene is shown instead. I saw that a production code, G versus D1005, was now visible in the corner of the film, and I realized I had come across a work print version of the film. Next, the scene cuts to the body of Junior again. This time he is even worse state than before. Part of his suit is on fire, but rather than just showing the inside of the suit, the slowly rotting flesh-colored fabrics which made up the inside of the downed saurian can be seen. Flames overtake the monster altogether, and sparks start to fly out of the boundary between the suit's head and neck. The film then cuts further onwards to when the JSDF shows up and tries to bombard Destroyah with their weapons. Instead of taking to the air, Destroyah's floral pattern opens up again, and he uses the same move as earlier, destroying the tanks in a mighty explosion. That marked the end of the film. Rather than being scared, disturbed, or even annoyed, I was fascinated by what I had seen. I decided to reorder a new tape so I could see the final product, but I wanted to keep a hold of the unusual tape. Perhaps the strangest thing about this tape is that there was absolutely no blood whatsoever. Although it is a rare occurrence, blood is sometimes used in Godzilla movies to symbolize a serious injury. Since this wasn't added during the addition of the other special effects, it is always used while the cameras are still rolling. Why the blood had not been used here baffled me. Perhaps it's symbolic for something. Either way, I'm keeping this tape. Who knows what secrets it may hold.